Future wife, I don't know where you are right now. Maybe you're walking through your city streets, headphones on, chasing your dreams. Maybe you're sitting by your window watching the world pass by, not knowing someone out here is already building a life with you in mind. I bought a new home near your city, not because the walls were perfect, not because the view was breathtaking, but because every mile closer to you feels like destiny pulling its own strings. I wanted to breathe the same air you breathe, to walk the same roads you walk, to be close enough that when the universe decides it's time, I won't be far away. This house isn't just bricks and windows. It's patience. It's faith. It's a quiet promise that I am preparing for you before you even know my name. And to everyone listening right now, some people wake for love to find them. Others move toward it. Future wife, somewhere in your city lights under the same sky that stretches above my new roof, you are living your life without knowing that someone has rearranged his entire world just to be nearer to yours. I didn't buy this home because it was convenient. I didn't buy it because it was cheap or trendy or impressive. I bought it because when I stood in the quiet living room for the first time, I felt something steady in my chest. Not noise, not excitement, something calm, something certain stuff. The streets here are unfamiliar to me, but they don't feel strange. Every corner I turn feels like I am walking towards something instead of away from it. I pass coffee shops and wonder if you've ever sat by their windows. I drive through intersections and think maybe your car has stopped at the same red lights. Low. There is something powerful about knowing that we breathe the same city air. Now the distance that once felt like an ocean has become just a few streets, a few chances, a few moments waiting to happen. This house is quiet at night. The walls echo slightly because there isn't much furniture yet. I didn't rush to fill it. I wanted space. I wanted room for the life we will create. The second bedroom remains untouched because in my mind it's already waiting for shared mornings and laughter. The kitchen feels too large for one person, but I leave the lights on sometimes just to imagine the warmth of conversations that haven't happened yet. People asked me why I chose this city. I smiled. I didn't tell them it was because you exist here, because somewhere within these streets there is a woman who will one day sit across from me and realize that love had been quietly preparing long before we ever met. I don't believe in rushing fate, but I believe in meeting it halfway. And this home is me walking halfway. Every morning I step outside and feel the rhythm of this place. The early sun hits the rooftops gently. There's a calm strength in the way this city wakes up. It reminds me of how I imagine you, strong but gentle, grounded but full of light. I don't know your favorite cafe yet. I don't know your daily routine, but I know that I wanted to be close enough that when life decides to cross our paths, I won't be miles away wondering what if. This isn't obsession, it's intention. There's a difference. Obsession chases, intention prepares. I am preparing. I am building a life sturdy enough to welcome you without chaos. I'm setting foundations that won't shake when storms come. Because love isn't just about finding each other, it's about being ready when you do. At night, when the city grows quiet, I sit by the window and look at the skyline. Somewhere out there, maybe you're doing the same. Maybe you're dreaming about a future you can't fully see yet. I hope you feel safe. I hope you feel protected by something greater than both of us. Because I do. I feel guided. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly guided toward you. I walk through this house slowly, sometimes touching the walls, imagining frames filled with memories. I picture small arguments that end in laughter. I imagine long talks on the floor before we even buy a couch. I imagine you standing in the doorway, sunlight behind you, realizing this place isn't just a house. It's a promise that someone thought of you before you arrived. I don't know your name yet, but I respect you. I don't know your voice yet, but I already value your silence. I don't know your past, but I am ready to honor it. Moving closer to you wasn't about romance alone. It was about responsibility. If I'm going to love you one day, I want to love you without excuses, without distance being the reason we almost met but didn't. This city feels different now. It feels personal. When I hear laughter in the streets, I wonder if it's yours. When I see someone walking with determination, I wonder if you walk that way too. The world used to feel wide and scattered. Now it feels focused, narrowed down to a map that makes sense. I am not here by accident. I am here because I chose courage over comfort. I chose the unknown over the familiar. I chose to believe that love is worth relocating for. Some people wait for life to deliver happiness to their doorstep. I bought a doorstep closer to where my happiness lives. And maybe one day when you finally stand in this living room, you'll ask me why I came here before I even knew you. And I'll tell you, it's because some connections are felt long before they are seen. Because sometimes your heart recognizes a direction before your mind understands it. Because loving you started with preparation, not introduction. So until the day our paths finally cross, I will keep building here. I will keep growing here. I will keep becoming the man who deserves the woman living. So where in this city, and every sunrise that touches this roof will remind me that I didn't move for comfort. I moved for destiny. This house is empty, but it already carries your name in my heart. Future wife, when I unlocked the door for the first time. The sound echoed longer than it should have, an empty space as a way of reminding you that you're alone. But I didn't feel alone. I felt early, like I had arrived before the story officially begins. The rooms were bare, the floors untouched, the windows wide open to a city that still doesn't know my name. And yet, as I stepped inside, I felt like I was walking into something that already belonged to us. There's a quiet strength in empty rooms. They don't argue. They don't interrupt. They simply wait. And this house is waiting, not in desperation, not in loneliness, but in quiet confidence. Every wall feels like it's holding space for laughter that hasn't happened yet. Every corner feels like it's saving a place for memories that haven't been created. I didn't rush to decorate. I didn't rush to fill the silence with noise. I let it breathe. I let it stay open because I don't want to build a life that you have to squeeze into. I want you to walk in one day and feel like you were considered long before you arrived. The living room is wide, and sometimes I stand in the middle of it just imagining the sound of your voice bouncing off these walls. I imagine conversations that stretch late into the night, the kind where we sit on the floor because we haven't bought a proper couch yet, talking about childhood stories, dreams that scared us, fears we never told anyone else about. I imagine your laughter filling the air and transforming this place from structure to sanctuary. The kitchen feels too big for one person. When I open the cabinets, they're mostly empty. I leave space intentionally. I don't know what your favorite says. Knacks are, I don't know how you take your tea or coffee, but I want there to be room for your preferences, your routines, your presence. Love is not about control, it's about accommodation. And this house is already learning how to accommodate you. Sometimes I walk into the second bedroom and just stand there. The sunlight hits differently in that room, softer, warmer. It feels like possibility. Maybe it becomes a creative space. Maybe it becomes a place for quiet reflection. Maybe one day it becomes something bigger than both of us ever imagined. I don't force the vision. I just let the space remain open because love needs room to evolve. At night, when the city quiets down, I sit near the window and watch the lights in the distance. Somewhere out there, you are living your life. Maybe you're unaware that someone has prepared a place with you in mind. Maybe you're healing. Maybe you're growing. Maybe you're asking the universe for a love that feels steady instead of loud. I hope when you pray for stability, you don't realize that stability is already being built closer to you. This house is not about luxury. It's not about showing the world that I've accomplished something. It's about foundation, about roots, about saying to myself that when I meet you, I won't offer uncertainty. I won't offer temporary promises. I will offer walls that don't shake and a roof that doesn't leak when storms come. I run my hand along the walls sometimes and think about how strange it is to prepare for someone whose face I haven't seen yet. But love has never been logical. It's intentional. It's patience. It's willing to invest before receiving. I am investing in us before world. When I lay down at night, the other side of the bed remains untouched, not as a reminder of absence, but as a symbol of expectation. I don't see emptiness. When I look at that spa, the sea, I see arrival. I see the moment when distance, timing, and circumstance finally align. People might say it's foolish to prepare like this, to think so far ahead, to move, to build, to adjust your life around someone you haven't met. But I don't see it as foolish. I see it as faith. Faith that the right connection is worth readiness. Faith that when we finally stand face to face, I can say, I didn't just wait for you, I prepared for you. The floors creak softly when I walk across them at night. The sound doesn't bother me. It feels alive, like the house itself understands that it's part of something bigger, a chapter being written quietly. No audience, no applause, just intention. I imagine the day you walk through this door for the first time. Maybe you'll look around and smile. Distance is no longer an excuse. It's a chapter I decided to close. Future wife, there was a time when miles felt like mountains, when cities felt like separate worlds, when timing, schedules, responsibilities, all of it could be used as reasons why two people never meet. I used to believe distance was powerful, that it could delay fate, that it could keep hearts from crossing paths, but I don't believe that anymore. Distance only wins when we let it. And one day, I woke up and realized I didn't want too far to be part of our story. I didn't want to look back years from now and wonder if we almost met, but didn't because I stayed comfortable where I was. I didn't want geography to have more control over my future than courage. So I closed that chapter. Moving closer wasn't dramatic. There were no fireworks, no applause, just quiet decisions stacking on top of each other, researching neighborhoods, packing boxes, letting go of familiar streets. It wasn't easy. Comfort never is when you walk away from it, but growth rarely asks for permission. Now, when I look at the map, it feels different. Now, when I look at the map, it feels different. Your city is no longer a distant point I zoom into on a screen. It's real. It's tangible. It's reachable. The roads between us are shorter. The excuses are smaller. The possibilities are louder. I walk outside and realize that at any moment, life could arrange a simple encounter, a shared store aisle, a cafe line, a random event neither of us planned to attend. The beauty of proximity is not that it guarantees meeting. It's that it removes barriers. It says if it's meant to happen, nothing artificial is standing in the way. There's something powerful about knowing that we exist under the same rhythm now, the same traffic patterns, the same weather changes. When it rains here, I wonder if it's raining where you are. When the sun sets over this skyline, I think about how close you might be to seeing the same color stretch across the sky. Distance used to create imagination. Now closeness creates anticipation. And I didn't move here expecting to knock on your door tomorrow. I moved here to align my life with possibility, to show myself that love isn't passive. The stings, it's not about sitting still and hoping someone finds you. It's about positioning yourself where destiny can recognize you. There's a calm confidence that comes with closing the chapter of distance. I no longer feel like I'm waiting from far away. I feel like I'm participating, like I've stepped into the same arena as you. Sometimes I think about how unaware you probably are. You're living your routine, making plans, chasing goals. You don't know that someone decided to eliminate the space between someday and maybe. You don't know that someone chose nearness over nostalgia. But that's okay, because when the moment finally comes, when our eyes meet in a way that feels different from every other glance, I'll know that distance didn't stop us. It didn't delay us. It didn't defeat us. It was just a chapter, and I closed it. I am building a life in faith. Before I ever hold your hand, future wife, before our fingers ever intertwine, before we stand close enough to hear each other breathe, I am already working on the man who will hold your hand with steadiness instead of uncertainty. This isn't about romance alone. It's about responsibility. It's about understanding that love isn't something you stumble into unprepared. It's something you grow into deliberately. Every day in this new city, I wake up with intention, not just to exist here, but to become stronger here, to become calmer, wiser, more patient. I don't want to meet you as a half-built structure, still figuring out its foundation. I want to meet you as someone who has faced his fears, organized his chaos, and learned how to protect peace instead of disturb it. It doesn't demand attention. It's quiet discipline. It's choosing growth when nobody is watching. It's improving habits, managing emotions, learning how to communicate without ego. I'm practicing these things now, long before I ever sit across from you. Because when I finally do, I don't want to offer you potential. I want to offer you stability. This house I bought near your city isn't just walls and windows. It's a symbol. Every bill I pay on time, every repair I handle myself, every responsibility I carry without complaint. It's training, it's preparation. Love requires strength that doesn't panic under pressure, and I'm building that strength in silence. Sometimes I think about the day we'll finally talk for hours without realizing how fast time moves. I imagine the comfort of that moment, but I don't rush it. I respect timing. Faith teaches patience. It reminds me that rushing a connection can damage something that was meant to grow slowly. So I let life unfold at its pace while I continue preparing at mine. I'm learning how to listen more than I speak, learning how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, learning that leadership and love doesn't mean control, it means protection, guidance, and humility. When I hold your hand one day, I want you to feel safe, not managed, understood, not analyzed, supported, not overshadowed. There are nights when the silence of this house feels heavy. That's when faith matters most. When there's no visible sign that you're near. When there's no confirmation that our paths will cross soon, utter a set of fits. In those moments, I remind myself that preparation is never wasted. Even if destiny takes longer than expected, growth still shapes me into someone better. I don't know your struggles yet. I don't know the battles you fought quietly, but I'm strengthening myself so that when you share them, I won't crumble. I won't react with insecurity. I'll respond with steadiness. Love isn't about being impressed by each other's highlights. It's about standing firm during each other's storms. Faith also means trusting that you are growing too. Somewhere in the same city, maybe you're working on your dreams. Maybe you're healing from disappointment. Maybe you're learning what you deserve. I respect that journey. I don't want to interrupt it prematurely. I want our meeting to feel aligned, not forced. Every step I take here, every routine I build is another brick in the life I'm constructing for us. Not a fantasy, not an illusion, a real life. One that can handle responsibility, partnership, and commitment. When I finally hold your hand, it won't be out of desperation. It will be out of readiness. And until that day comes, I will keep building quietly, keep strengthening my character, keep deepening my fate. Because love deserves preparation long before the first touch, long before the first embrace, long before the first time. I look into your eyes and realize that every silent of effort, every disciplined day, every patient night was leading to that exact moment. There was a moment I almost stayed where I was. Future wife, it would have been easier. Familiar streets, familiar faces, a life already arranged in predictable patterns. Comfort has a soft voice. It tells you not to risk, not to relocate, not to rebuild. It tells you that maybe is safer than what if. For a while, I listened to that voice. I told myself that if it's meant to happen, it will happen anywhere. I convinced myself that effort wasn't necessary, that destiny didn't require movement. But deep down, there was a quiet restlessness I couldn't ignore. A feeling that staying still wasn't peace, it was fear dressed as logic. So I faced it. I asked myself a simple question. If I never move, if I never take a step toward the unknown, will I regret it? And the answer came without hesitation. Yes. Not because I was guaranteed to meet you here, but because I would know I chose safety over possibility. And love, real love, deserves courage. Packing my life into boxes wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. Late nights sorting memories, letting go of things that once felt permanent. Ambush, letting go of things that once felt permanent. Saying goodbye to routines that felt secure. Each decision felt heavy but also freeing, like I was shedding an old version of myself to make room for someone stronger. There's something transformative about stepping into a new city alone. You realize how much of your identity was attached to familiarity here. Nobody knows my history. Nobody defines me by who I used to be. I get to build from intention, not habits. And in that rebuilding, I thought about you. I thought about how I don't want to meet you as someone clinging to the past, but I want to meet you as someone who had the bravery to evolve, someone who understood that growth sometimes requires relocation, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. There are evenings when I drive through these new streets and feel both small and powerful at the same time. Small because I'm just one person in a city full of stories. Powerful because I chose to be here. I chose to align my life with hope instead of hesitation. Maybe you don't know how close we are now. Maybe you've never thought about the fact that someone uprooted his life just to remove barriers that might have kept you apart. And that's okay. This isn't about recognition, it's about alignment. I don't expect applause for this move. I don't need validation for this decision. The reward isn't praise, it's peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing I didn't let fear write my story. If we meet tomorrow, I'll be ready. If we meet a year from now, I'll still be ready. Because this wasn't an impulsive decision fueled by fantasy. It was a grounded step driven by faith. I almost stayed, but almost doesn't build futures. Almost doesn't close distances. Almost doesn't create opportunities for two strangers to become something more. So I moved. Sometimes I stand on the balcony of this new home and let the city breathe around me. And I wonder how many invisible decisions had to align just to bring me here, this close to you, this close to a future that still doesn't know our names together. The air feels different here, not because it carries something magical, but because I chose it. I chose to wake up under this skyline. I chose to let these streets become familiar. I chose to let these streets become familiar. I chose to place myself within reach of a woman who doesn't even know yet that someone is already thinking about how to protect her peace. There's a quiet power in proximity. When I lived far away, loving you felt abstract. It felt like a beautiful theory. Now it feels tangible, real. The grocery stores I walk into, the parks I pass, the quiet bookstores tucked into corners, any one of them could be part or two of your routine. Any one of them could be the place where our timelines finally intersect. And there's something humbling about that. It reminds me that destiny doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it walks in casually while you're reaching for coffee. I've started learning the rhythm of this city, the rush hours, the silent hours, the way the sky changes color just before sunset. I pay attention because one day when you talk about your favorite time of day, I want to understand it not as a visitor, but as someone who has been here long enough to feel it too. I don't want to love you from a distance of ignorance. I want to love you with awareness. Inside this house, I move slowly. I'm intentional about what I bring in. I don't clutter the space with temporary things. I think long term. I think about durability because love isn't a short lease, it's ownership, it's maintenance. It's showing up even when the paint starts to fade and the weather gets rough. So I practice that mindset here first. I fix what needs fixing. I clean what needs cleaning. I don't ignore small problems. I address them early because the way a man handles his home often mirrors how he handles his relationships. There are nights when loneliness tries to speak. It asks me why I prepared so early. It whispers that maybe I should have waited for certainty before making a move this big. But I've learned something about certainty. It rarely arrives before courage. Most of the time, certainty follows action. It rewards movement. And every time doubt tries to question me, I look around at these walls and remind myself that growth always feels uncomfortable at first. I imagine the first time you step inside. I don't picture perfection. I don't picture a cinematic slow motion moment. I picture something simple, real. Maybe you look around curiously. Maybe you'll ask why I chose this area. Maybe you'll ask why I chose this area. And I'll tell you the truth that something inside me refused to let distance be the reason we never met. That I didn't want too far to be our excuse. This city has already started shaping me. It's teaching me independence in a new way, teaching me patience as I adapt, teaching me humility as I navigate unfamiliar systems and faces. All of it is refining me, sharpening me, making me more aware of who I am when stripped of comfort. And I want to meet you as a refined version of myself, not a sheltered one, and me more aware of who I am when stripped of comfort. And I want to meet you as a refined version of myself, not a sheltered one. Sometimes I drive at night with no destination, just to understand the layout of the place that might hold our future memories. I pass quiet neighborhoods and wonder what kind of environment makes you feel safe. I pass bright downtown lights and wonder if you prefer energy or calm. I don't assume, I just observe. I let curiosity replace fantasy because loving someone well requires paying attention, not projecting imagination onto them. I think about partnership a lot, rounds about what it really means. It's not just romance, it's responsibility shared. It's emotional maturity. It's knowing when to speak and when to listen. And I'm practicing that discipline now in my friendships, in my work, in my daily routines. This because when you finally sit across from me and tell me about your day, I want to hear you fully, not half listen while thinking about myself. The bed in my room is positioned with space on both sides, not because I expect you tomorrow, but because I refuse to design my life as if I'm meant to be alone forever. That space isn't empty, it's reserved for conversations in the dark, for comfort after long days, for silent understanding when words aren't necessary. There's strength in preparing without applause. Nobody congratulated me for moving closer. Nobody celebrated the quiet sacrifice of leaving familiarity behind. But that's the thing about real seeing. That's the thing about real preparation. It's often invisible. The strongest foundations are underground. And I'm okay with that. I don't need the world to understand why I'm here. I just need to know that when the time comes, I won't look back with regret. If our paths cross next week, I'll be grateful. If they cross years from now, I'll still be grounded because this move wasn't desperation. It was alignment. It was me stepping into a geography that matches my intention. And somewhere in the same city, you're living your life. growing, learning, becoming, and you don't feel the shift that happened when I arrived. You don't hear the silent promise I made to protect what we haven't built yet, but it exists in every responsible choice, in every disciplined morning, in every patient night I spend trusting that proximity was the right decision. In every patient night I spend trusting that proximity was the right decision. I don't know the details of our first meeting. I don't know the words that will break the ice, but I know this when I look into your eyes for the first time. I won't feel like a stranger to your world. I feel like someone who has been preparing within its borders, strengthening himself quietly, building a stable ground to stand on. And until that moment arrives, I will continue walking these streets with purpose, continue shaping this house into a home worthy of shared memories, continue becoming a man who doesn't just speak about love poetically, but lives in a way that makes love feel safe, steady, and real. Before I ever saw your face, I started changing my life. Future wife, that sounds dramatic, but it wasn't. There was no sudden revelation, no lightning in the sky. It was quieter than that. It was a gradual understanding that if I wanted a different future, I had to become a different man. And somewhere in that transformation, even without knowing your name, I was thinking about you. I started waking up earlier. Not because someone told me to, not because it looked impressive, but because discipline builds clarity, and clarity builds stability. I wanted my mind sharp, my emotions steady, my decisions intentional. I didn't want to meet you as a man still, negotiating with his own chaos. I wanted to meet you already at peace with it. There were habits I had to leave behind, patterns that felt comfortable but didn't serve growth, late nights wasted on distractions, conversations that led nowhere, environments that pulled more energy than they gave. Letting go wasn't easy, but every time I chose growth over comfort, I imagined the life I wanted to build with you. A life that requires maturity, a life that requires consistency. Moving near your city was just the visible part. The real relocation happened inside me. I relocated my mindset. I relocated my standards. I relocated the way I define love. It's no longer just emotion to me. It's structure, it's leadership, it's protection, it's sacrifice without resentment. I think about how many relationships fail because people arrive unprepared. They bring unresolved wounds, unstable foundations, expectations without effort. I refuse to do that to you. I refuse to let my lack of preparation become your burden. So I work on myself now in silence. Sometimes that work feels lonely. Self-improvement doesn't always feel inspiring. Justice, it's repetitive. It's choosing patience when you want reaction. It's choosing humility when pride feels easier. It's admitting mistakes without defending them. Duh. But every time I grow through discomfort, I know I'm increasing my capacity to love you properly. There's a mirror in my hallway, and occasionally I stop and look at myself longer than usual, not out of vanity, out of accountability. I ask myself hard questions. Am I becoming dependable? STEM. I'm building financial discipline. Am I emotionally available? Am I strong enough to support someone else? ME's dreams without feeling threatened. These questions matter because one day you will trust me with your heart, and that's not something I take lightly. When I walk through this city, I'm not just exploring streets, I'm practicing presence. I put my phone away more often. I observe people. I study human connection. I remind myself that love grows where attention exists. Stir. And I want to be a man who pays attention to your words, to your silences, to the subtle shifts in your tone when something is wrong. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know who hurt you or how strong you had to be when nobody was watching, but I know this. When we meet, I want you to feel the difference. It's the difference between a man who stumbled into love accidentally and a man who prepared for it intentionally. Preparation doesn't guarantee perfection. I will still have flaws, I will still have moments of weakness, but there's a difference between weakness acknowledged and weakness ignored. I'm doing the work now so that my flaws don't control our future. And maybe somewhere in your own world, you're doing the same, growing quietly, strengthening boundaries, learning your worth. If that's true, then every day we both spend improving separately is a day. We're indirect reinvesting in each other. One day when our paths finally cross, it won't just be two strangers meeting. That will be two people who spent time becoming ready. Two lives that evolved independently but intentionally moved toward alignment. Before I ever saw your face, I started changing my life, and I'm still changing. I don't know when we will meet, but I live like it could be tomorrow. Future wife, there's a different kind of discipline that comes when you believe something meaningful is on the horizon. Not fear, not pressure, just awareness. I move through this city knowing that at any corner, at any quiet moment, our timelines could finally intersect, and I want to be ready. Not dressed perfectly, not rehearsed, but internally prepared. When I step outside each morning, I carry myself with intention. I greet people with respect. I speak with calmness. I practice patience in traffic, in lines and delays, because character isn't something you switch on when love appears. It's something you live daily so that when love arrives, it finds you consistent. There's a grocery store a few blocks away that I visit often. Nothing special about it. Ordinary shelves, ordinary conversations. But sometimes I pause and think about how ordinary places create extraordinary stories. How two people reaching for the same item could spark something neither expected. I don't romanticize it, I just stay open to it. Roads. I keep my home ready. Not in obsession, but in quiet expectation. Clean floors, organized spaces, a calm environment. If you walked in unexpectedly, I wouldn't need to hide chaos. I wouldn't need to apologize for disorder. The way I maintain my space reflects how I plan to maintain us with care, consistency, and effort. At night, when the city hum softens into silence, I think about timing, about how precise life can be. If I had moved a year earlier, maybe we wouldn't be aligned. If I moved a year later, maybe we would miss each other. There's something powerful about trusting that this moment, this exact season, is preparation, not delay. I don't rush encounters, I don't force conversations. I let life unfold naturally, but I stay present. I don't bury myself in distractions. I don't numb myself with meaningless noise because I want to recognize you when you appear. Recognition requires awareness. Sometimes I imagine our first real conversation, not what we'll say, but how it will feel. That subtle shift when a stranger doesn't feel like a stranger anymore. That calm familiarity that doesn't need explanation. I don't expect fireworks. I expect steadiness, a grounded connection that feels like something long overdue. Living like we could meet tomorrow changes how I act today. I choose integrity even when no one is watching. I choose honesty in small matters. I choose responsibility with my time and money because one day those details won't just affect me, they'll affect you. There's a quiet excitement in this kind of waiting. It's not impatient, it's focused. It's knowing that life rewards preparation. I'm not chasing you through the city, I'm aligning myself within it, becoming someone who doesn't just desire love, but sustains it. If tomorrow is the day our eyes finally meet, I'll be grateful. If tomorrow comes and goes without that moment, I'll still be grounded because this readiness isn't temporary. It's who I'm becoming. I don't know when we will meet, but I live like it could be tomorrow. I've stopped asking the universe for signs and started becoming one instead. Future wife, there was a time when I searched for reassurance everywhere. Numbers, coincidences, moments that felt symbolic. I wanted proof that what I was doing made sense. proof that moving closer, changing my life, preparing for someone unseen wasn't just imagination. But over time, I realized something important. Signs don't lead disciplined people. Discipline creates direction. So, I stopped waiting for permission. I decided that if love was going to find me, it would find me in motion, in effort, in growth, not frozen in hesitation, not hiding behind uncertainty. I didn't need the universe to whisper anymore. I needed to act in a way that made my intentions visible. Every decision I make now carries weight, not pressure, purpose. I ask myself how this choice shapes the man I'm becoming, how it affects the future I want to share. I don't just think about today, I think about impact, because love isn't built in moments of inspiration. It's built in patterns repeated consistently. I show up even when motivation is quiet. I keep my word even when it would be easier to change it. I respect time, mine, and others. These aren't grand gestures. They're subtle signals. Signals that say I'm reliable, that I'm stable, that say I'm stable, that say I'm stable, that I understand. Love is sustained by trust long before passion ever speaks. Sometimes I imagine you watching from a distance, not knowing who I am yet, but sensing that someone out there values depth over display. Someone who isn't trying to impress the world, but trying to prepare for one person. I don't need to be loud about what I'm building. The right person will feel it. There are days when nothing exciting happens, no progress you can point to, no visible milestones, just routine. And those are the days that matter most, because routine reveals character. It shows who you are when no one is applauding. And I want my character to be something you can lean on. I don't rush connections with people here. I don't chase attention. I let things develop naturally, because I've learned that anything rushed often lacks roots. And I'm not interested in temporary closeness. I'm interested in permanence. The city has taught me patience. It doesn't move at my pace. It moves at its own. And in learning to adapt, I've learned how to coexist instead of control. That lesson will matter when I love you. Because loving someone isn't about shaping them to your rhythm. It's about learning how to harmonize without losing yourself. If you ever ask me one day why I seemed so calm when we met, why I didn't feel frantic or uncertain, it's because I did the internal work early. I didn't wait for love to force maturity out of me. I chose maturity before love arrived. I'm not perfect. I don't aim to be. I aim to be consistent, honest, emotionally present, strong enough to protect peace, gentle enough to nurture it. These qualities aren't built overnight. They're earned quietly, day after day. I don't know where you are at this exact moment, but I trust that when we finally meet, you won't need an explanation for why things feel steady. You'll feel it immediately in the way I listen, in the way I respond, in the way I stand firm without being rigid. I've stopped asking the universe for signs because I've become one. And finally, I want you to know this. Everything I've done, every step,